What I bought? A new Blink Mini 2K Plus smart security camera. What I got? 2K clarity sharp enough to see every detail of home when I'm away. Plus audio like I'm in the room, not with my bestie traveling to another city. Plus easy plug-in setup to install faster than skipping through podcast ads. But you'd never skip ads, right? Plus, I got all of this for just $49.99. Blink Mini 2K Plus. Mini camera, max performance. Shop now at amazon.com/blink.
Hey, business owners, we know you know the importance of maximizing every dollar. With the Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business American Express card, you can make your expenses work just as hard as you. From afternoon coffee runs to stocking office supplies and even team dinners, you can earn miles on all your business expenses. Plus, you can earn 125,000 bonus miles for a limited time through October 29th. The Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business Card. If you travel, you know. Minimum spending requirements and terms apply. Offer ends October 29th, 2025.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Business. We could all use more time. Amazon Business offers smart business buying solutions, so you can spend more time growing your business and less time doing the admin. I can see why they call it smart. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com.
At Thales, we know cybersecurity can be tough and you can't protect everything, but with Thales, you can secure what matters most. With Thales industry-leading platforms, you can protect critical applications, data, and identities, anywhere and at scale with the highest ROI. That's why the most trusted brands and largest banks, retailers, and healthcare companies in the world rely on Thales to protect what matters most. Applications, data, and identities. That's Thales, Thales. Learn more at thalesgroup.com/cyber.
Welcome to the HCI family of podcasts. We're your source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development. We share our own original research, explore industry trends, and interview executives and thought leaders from across the globe. Join us for practitioner-oriented content around all things leadership, HR, talent management, organizational development, and change management. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with the HCI family of podcasts.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for this day.
Finished training for the day? Time to fight post-workout fatigue with Core Power Protein Shakes. They're packed with 26 grams of high-quality protein to build muscle and electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to help your body replenish, rebuild, and repair post-workout so you can power on to the next one. Champion your recovery with Core Power. Visit corepower.com to learn more.
No one should have to choose between their own safety and their pets. But nearly half of domestic abuse survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Purina is helping to create more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters through the Purple Leash Project, so survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit Purina.com/purple to learn more.
Big news. Sephora is now on Uber Eats. So if you find yourself facing a beauty emergency, like needing a last-minute gift, or you're just out of your favorite mascara, again, don't panic. We got you. Order now and get $10 off on Sephora orders of $50 or more on the Uber Eats app. Order now. Offer ends October 30th. 1 order per customer. Additional terms apply. See app for availability. Delivery fees may apply.
Hey, this is Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast, here to tell you that Michelob Ultra, the official beer partner of the NBA, is bringing NBA fans closer than ever this season with chances to win great prizes, including courtside tickets. Enter now at MichelobUltra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra courtside 25 to 26, No purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 plus. Begins on October 1st, 2025 and ends on June 30th, 2026. Multiple entry periods. See official rules at michelobultra.com/courtside for free entry deadlines, prizes, and details.
Welcome to Sephora. I'm looking for a perfume that's not too perfumey. I got you.
Serum moisturizer or moisturizer serum.
Let's get into layering.
My concealer is making me look worse.
Sounds like the wrong shade. Let's get you matched.
There's only one store that really gets what you're going for. Get beauty from people who get beauty. Only at Sephora.
Hi, Let's get you a basket.
Okay, Chad. Today you're gonna drive the all-electric Toyota BZ.
But my electric vehicle phobia. I'm not ready, Dr. Ross.
I believe in you.
Oh my gosh. We're inside it.
Try to take deep breaths, okay?
The ventilated seats, they're touching me.
You can do this, Chad. Drive the car. How do you feel, Chad?
I feel cured. Woohoo! I'm doing it! I'm doing it!
The all-electric BZ. One drive can change your mind. Toyota. Let's go places.
Hugh Blane, welcome to the conversation today.
It's a delight to be here. Thank you.
It's a real pleasure to be with you. You're joining us from the Seattle area. I'm south of Salt Lake City in Utah. And today we're going to be talking about what the leadership industrial complex has gotten wrong. I really like that framing. We'll explore what that means here in just a few minutes. But really, there's just so much in the world of leadership development, so much in the world of ongoing leadership pipeline succession, all of these sorts of things that I think oftentimes we take for granted. We don't always challenge the assumptions or the way we've always done things. And so it's really healthy to have these types of conversations to explore, what is working, what's not working, what could be better moving forward, especially in this day and age of intense complexity and hyper competitiveness and technological disruption and everything. Like it's a time more than any that we need good leadership. And I'm not sure that many organizations really know how to prepare, for what the future holds. So we're going to explore that together. As we get started, I wanted to share Hugh's bio with everybody. Hugh Blane is a renowned leadership, athletic, and financial coach with over 40 years of coaching experience. Hugh, the founder and principal for Claris Consulting, has coached successful CEOs to transform their leadership, which transforms their culture and results. As a coach, Hugh has generated over 75 million of client and enterprise value over the last 10 years, and clients include organizations like Sony Pictures, Starbucks, Costco, Stanford University, Nordstrom, REI Co-op, Wells Fargo, and others. Hugh, I'm going to pause there. Anything you would like to highlight by way of your background, personal context before we dive on in?
Yeah, the thing that has shaped a lot of my leadership is that I'm an immigrant. I immigrated from Scotland to Canada to Birmingham, Alabama, and we arrived in Birmingham in 1968. So contextually, when we put that into a business context and we think about culture, here's a kid who has never seen an African American in his life going from one culture, Scotland, to Canada, different culture, to then Birmingham, Alabama, which is a vastly different culture. So I was there when they started integrating our Catholic school. And I remember the day when 4 African-American girls walked from a car across the entryway to the church, to the school, and all of a sudden they're showing up. And everybody likes me, but there was this dissonance or this friction with the 4 African-American girls. That put me in the position of saying, how do people get welcomed into a culture? And then it's a bold move for those young girls to then come into the culture, knowing what they were going to experience. So that always shaped my thinking about how do we make meaning? How do we have the courage to do things that are maybe outside of what's normal? So I think that's a big part of how I use my professional life to think, just to kind of pull things together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And each of us have our own unique backgrounds, personal contexts that shape our development and how we see the world and how we interact with the world. 100%, that kind of a background would shape anybody. And it's really cool to hear how it's influenced your approach to working with people, with organizations, striving to create a culture of welcome and belonging, and a place where any organization hopefully is a safe place where anyone
regardless of their backgrounds, race, ethnicity, gender,
Right.
any other socioeconomics, anything, like choose any category, regardless. Like people can come, they can contribute, they can find meaning and purpose at work. And they're valued. You know, everyone wants to be in that kind of an environment, whether we're talking about home, community, work, whatever.
Wherever it is.
And
Yeah.
and we have an opportunity as leaders to provide that for our people. And we don't always do that well, even if it's our intention. And that's one thing I want to say at the outset is I truly believe that most leaders have good intentions. I think most
Absolutely.
leaders are also pretty clumsy and human and get caught up in the day-to-day grind and putting out fires. And so a lot of leaders do a lot of things that are counterproductive to, what will actually help them be successful or their teams be successful. But I do believe leaders, almost all leaders, really want to do right by people. They want to do right for their teams. And they recognize that's how, they're going to get the best success. But it's hard to recognize that intellectually on the one hand, and then to like put it into practice on the other hand, when you do have the pressure, the daily grind, the fires, all these sorts of things that you're trying to deal with. You have to meet that quarterly metric, and you feel the intense pressure. And guess what? You may end up doing something you otherwise wouldn't do in how you treat people just because you're getting so much intense pressure. So recognizing all of that, I want to give grace to leaders, but also recognize that there's a lot of room for a lot of improvement. And I think most good leaders would recognize that and they would embrace that and they would seek out like ways to improve as they continue on in their career journey.
I'm going to go back to 2005 and double click on an article that was written in I don't think Fast Company is even around anymore, but Fast Company did an article, 2005, and it was called Change or Die. And it was written by Alan Deutschman. And his premise was, if a doctor came to you and said, listen, change your behavior, otherwise you're going to die, almost every single person in a room of 1,000 people would raise their hand and say, I will change my behavior if that's true. So he pressed in and double clicked on that and said, well, let's look at healthcare, for example. And at Johns Hopkins University, they did a bunch of research that said, if you come in with angina and you feel pressure in your chest when you're walking up a flight of stairs, you're now afraid for your life. So you go to the doctor and the doctor says, listen, you're going to need heart bypass surgery. But they also said, listen, the surgery is not the cure. What it does is it gives you a window so that you will feel less discomfort so that you can do the things that are going to be necessary for you to live a healthy, vibrant life, i.e., stop smoking, eat a lower fat diet, all these health things, the same 5 things that are still running, the cost of healthcare in America today. Lose some weight, exercise the whole 9 yards. Every one of those people said, I'll do it. How many people 2 years later, after the surgery, had actually changed their behavior? 8%. Let me put that a different way. 92% of the people went back to the exact same lifestyle they had before the doctor said, change or die. Well, why is that? Well, there's kind of good news in here. Dean Ornish at the time had said, I can reverse heart disease. But what you'll do is you'll go on this low-fat diet and you're going to do this exercise and you're going to stop smoking, you'll do all this stuff. We'll even give you a program. 4 days a week, you come into the office and we can reverse heart disease. 70% of the people who said yes to that program were still on the program 2 years later, right? Now, the question that I looked at there was, do we have to be scared spitless to change our behavior? Well, there's the fear of missing out, right? That's one very real thing. Robert Cialdini in his book Influence talked about that. Scarcity is a huge motivator for influence. It's really hard to change our behavior. I'm going to say that from my perspective. I know it is for me. So what Marshall Goldsmith, one of my mentors, said in a book once is, what got you here will not get you there. We've probably all read the book, but think about that. It's the hardest thing for us to do is to change our behavior. If anyone's listening to this, has anyone said at the beginning of January, I want to lose 5 pounds. I want to exercise more. And is it 7, 8, 9 weeks that those New Year's resolutions are totally forgotten.
Often only two or three.
Right. So the idea that I'm going to go back to Warren Bennis, who said, and this is going to go into the leadership industrial complex. He said, we get leadership development wrong. Jim Kouzes and Barry Posner wrote a book called Leadership Challenge, said it's not leadership, it's followership. How do you get people to follow you? And what Warren Bennis said was, he said, we get wrong that we tell you what to do. What we have to do is train you how to stop doing the things that are no longer serving you. And that's the critical piece that we need to step into. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I really like that. And I think it's really important to highlight all of that is true even within the context of intention, right? So
Correct.
all these people had the intention of transforming their lives because they had the scare or whatever the motivation was.
Right.
And yet, even given that kind of intense moment, intention's not enough. Like it's not enough to want to change. Change is hard, and especially when it comes to lifetime habits that you're trying to pivot, on a dime. It's going to be really, really tough to do that, even when the intention is there. And not everyone has that intention. Some people are just totally fine sticking it out and like, I'll go when I go or whatever.
Correct.
But, assuming that most people do want to live a happy, healthy life with their loved ones, and transfer that into the workplace, most people do want to show up to work, do a good job, be appreciated, learn, grow, have opportunities, for advancement, etc. Most people have that intention. Most leaders have the intention, like I was talking about earlier, and yet those intentions of their own are just not enough. They're not powerful enough to drive people usually. There is that, 8 to 10% that have enough self-motivation, and the commitment and everything that helps them to carry forward. But the vast majority of us don't. And even that 10%, they might on one thing, but not on another thing, right? And so it's just when we think about human behavior, we think about how flawed and limited we all are, because of our own human context. It doesn't mean it's not possible. It just means it's hard, and then we have to be very intentional. And as leaders, we have to create the environment where people have the supports necessary so that they can make the changes that they want to make. So if you notice, problems in your team, you can't just like hold a hammer over people and say, fix it or you're fired. You're likely going to get just enough good behavior to, so people can protect their jobs and not get fired, but probably not to actually fix stuff. You have to find, ways to actually create the support structures in the environment that will help people to make the actual changes, not surface level, but root cause changes that will make a long-term difference. And that's hard, especially in an immediacy culture like we tend to have here in the West, in the US. We are looking at this week, this month, this quarter, and a lot of these changes, they don't happen that fast, right? They happen over an extended period of time with extended support.
And there was a bunch of research that was done, and I'm gonna for the people who are listening, they know this, right? So there was a book written a long time ago called The Knowing Doing Gap. We know what to do, but we're not doing it. Why is that? Well, the statistics that I've looked at, John, is I'm gonna go to Deloitte, Gallup, Harvard, HBR. Dr. Gloria Mark, man, that woman, she is brilliant with regards to attention in Microsoft. And here was a statistic that came about pre-COVID. And the statistic that Microsoft found was that 58% of employees trust a stranger more than they do their boss.
Oh, geez.
Now, there was other things that 84% of the people at the time of the looking at this said that they were stressed out at work. And that 70% were constantly distracted because, we're in this, we've become in some regards, and I don't remember who said this, we're human doings more than human beings. We go from one thing to another. We're very transactional. And I think partially that's because of the nature of the work, that the demands are so strong, as you've mentioned. So I was at a financial institution, and I said that the average person gets interrupted per day 56 times.
Mm-hmm.
And there was somebody's arm that shot up and said, "That's a bold-faced lie." I said, "Which part of what I said was a bold-faced lie?" And he said, "We don't get interrupted 56 times per day." I said, "How many times do you get interrupted?" He said, "I'm interrupted over 100 times per day because we've got Slack, we have Teams, we have text, we have email, we have phone, we have people walking by." And so I'm talking to the executive in charge, and I said, "Do you know that if somebody is focused, what some people would call Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi called it flow, if I'm in flow and I get interrupted, how long does it take me to get back to the same level of focus?" And she said, "I don't know." I said, "Here's what Gloria Marx has said. It's 22 minutes and 13 seconds. Just think about that for a second." Now, the good news in this is that if it's something that you were working on that's germane, it's cut down to 10. So, but if this person's getting interrupted 100 times per day, let's say they're exaggerating, and let's say that they don't have the self-control to do things, but they're allowing themselves to be distracted, which Dr. Gloria Marx said interruptions are 44% self-inflicted. But even if it was 60% inflicted, it's still 300, and it's 300 minutes per day of interruption. It's over 4 hours, right? So how much transformational work can you do? So when I look at that, I then say, do you have a rule of life? So for example, when I first wrote Transformational Leadership, I started with, what's your purpose at work? I think that purpose is the raison d'etre for why we go to work. You and I do the work that we do because we believe that we can improve the quality of somebody's life. I do it also because I think that the greatest place for us to grow as human beings and to achieve our fullest potential is in the world of work. Because every single day I'm making 20 decisions, 25 decisions. And in that decision, I'm going to turn to what is good, what is true, what's beautiful, or I'm going to turn away from that. I'm going to turn towards something that is going to uplift or degrade. And that is a habit. And that's a ritual, but I have to know what are the ideals now that are going to shape and govern my life. So yes, I got a to-do list, but I'm now going to create a to-be list. Who am I going to be? Who am I going to become in the world of work? For example, only, not self-referential. I have 5. Love, presence, wisdom, generosity, and hope. I love the work that I do. I mean, and I want other people to be as excited about work. I want them to fall in love with it and fall in love with the customer, with the employee. Presence, I think the greatest gift a leader can give to another employee or a customer is be fully present, turn off your phone, and just be with me, care for me, care about me, and just be present. But we always need to look for wisdom. What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? If Marshall Goldsmith is right, what should I start doing? What should I stop doing? What should I keep doing? And in that moment of just generosity, of giving to the other person and saying, here's one idea I think that you can use, being generous in your time and your energy, whatever, and then the hope for something bigger and bolder in the future. That's my raison d'etre. Those are the ideals. That's on my to-be list. And whenever I start any project, I look at them and say, how will I infuse one of these into the work? Which means that a team or leader, if they don't have a true north, they're driving blind. Mm-hmm. And so that means that they'll be buffeted around by all of the adversity that they experience every day. But what if the adversity hit and they said, I know what I'm going to do. Here's the ideal that I'm going to live from in this moment. That changes things dramatically. I feel like I just got on a soapbox.
No, I love it. I love it. And you're right. And again, like I think most leaders would say, I have values that guide the way I, make decisions. But because of all the external factors humming around them, oftentimes those values get set aside, right? Whether that's their intention or not, it happens. And so it's one thing to say, I have these things, and there are many people who haven't even gone through the process of identifying them, but let's assume you have them. Let's assume that you actually understand like what your core drivers are, what those elements of being are for you. Then actually consistently putting them into practice takes discipline, and it just takes commitment and loyalty to your values amidst the swirling that is going to inevitably happen around you, right?
You mentioned something earlier, and I want to double click on what you just said. I had somebody, I was talking with a leader the other day, and he said, I have those. I said, great. How many do you have? 14. I said, you have how many? 14. I said, okay, tell me what they are. He gave me 3. And I went, okay, hold on a second. So there's an intellectualizing that took place. So he created all these things, but it wasn't in a blueprint that he could look at the end of the day and say, how did I do? There's no way you can do that with 14. I sent him a very nice email in return and said, let's just kind of, can we pare this down a little bit? But that part, which is how much of this is intellectual that I should be? So let's distinguish between 2 words. Are you driven to do those things, or are you drawn toward them? Those are different. So when you are drawn, and I'm going to use that touchy-feely word, when I love the John who's on the other side of the screen, who when I care for him, when I care about him, then that means I put my needs somewhat aside, and I'm just going to extend myself generously with love and presence to the other person. So there's a distinction that needs to be made. Your intention may have been to do this right, but the drivenness of the culture in the water in which you live, was there ever a moment when you could slow down and say, do I really believe these, and are these non-negotiable? Because if they're non-negotiable, if the culture will not allow me to do them, do I need to leave the culture? That's the come to Jesus moment when we say, do I stay or do I find a place where I can go? Because if it affects me, it affects my family.
Yeah.
It affects my community. So I then am living incongruently, and that's draining. So I'm not suggesting, listen, you got financial obligations and there's a whole bunch of pressure. I totally get that. Respect that. You got kids in school, whatever it may be. You got to do what's right. But there is a point where you can say, how do I then infuse this into the world of work? And that's where I think having an outsider like yourself or somebody else to say, this is how you behavioralize that in a world where they don't want you to do that.
Yeah. Sometimes it gets termed like the golden handcuffs or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So you just feel stuck. You don't like where you're at. You're being asked to do things that are incongruent with your values, and you feel like you have no choice. It could be because of your mortgage, your kids are in college, whatever, like health issues, whatever, and you need the insurance. And obviously you got to do what is needed for you and for your family. But if possible, to have an exit strategy, to understand like where the firm line is that you're not willing to cross, and to maybe be willing to speak up and speak out a little bit more, and to be more of a change agent within your own organization, within your own context, even when it's not easy. It's easy to speak up when everybody agrees, but when you're trying to be the voice of reason, and pushing on values that are really, really important to you, and no one seems to be listening, will you continue to speak up on that, or will you shrink to it? And for a wide variety of reasons, I think humans tend to, even if they're willing initially, they tend to shrink from it. And they feel stuck. And so the question then becomes, how do we get unstuck? How do we, have that bravery to continue to speak up? Or if it's really just not even completely unfeasible, then what's your exit strategy? To get out of that situation for yourself, for your health, and for the health of your family?
My sister is a recovering alcoholic, and she said something to me not long ago. And I don't know if it comes from AA, so I'm going to be clear about this. She said, all change starts by telling the truth. And so what she meant by that, and what I have interpreted and then reframed, is that you can't really change anything unless you're willing to accept the current situation in which you are. So let's just start there. So the way that I look at it is to say, okay, am I even aware of the consequences of me living this bifurcated life? So the poet David White once wrote a book in what was it? The Heart Aroused, I think it was. And he told the story about feeling really depleted at work. And he ran into a conference room one day and yelled at the top of his lungs, has anyone seen David? And he was the only David in the office, right? So he called a friend who was a Catholic priest and said, come over tonight and talk to me about exhaustion. And oh, by the way, I got a bottle of single malt whiskey. Guy goes over there, they're having their whiskey, and he says, talk to me about exhaustion. And then the priest said something really interesting. He said, David, the antidote to exhaustion is not rest, it's wholeheartedness. Drop the mic and walk off the stage, right? So are you wholeheartedly engaged in this? Are you really drawn to this, or are you driven by something else? And it goes back to the pressure that we're under for family and the whole 9 yards. But I just would say to everyone who's listening, that idea of wholeheartedness, how many people, just do a gut check, how many people on your team do you think are wholeheartedly? They're the ones that come to you and say, we can do this better, we can do this, we can do that, let's improve this. That there's a level of self-mastery and greatness embedded in every team. I ask leaders every single day, tell me, what is the definition of excellence that you have for yourself? What's the definition of excellence you have for your team? If there is no definition with behaviors attached to it, you're not pursuing it. You intellectualize it, but you're not pursuing it. So the to-be list, that's the behaviors. But the behaviors have to be towards something that elevates the human spirit and that it allows people to feel wholeheartedly engaged and to do something that they never even thought was possible.
Yeah. Well, Hugh, I love it. This has just been a great conversation, and I believe we could go on indefinitely.
We could.
But I also note the time. I need to let you go and get on with your busy day. Before we wrap things up, I just wanted to give you a chance to share with the audience how they can connect with you, find out more about your work, where they can find your book, and then give us the final word for today.
Okay. You can find me probably the easiest place, and I'm going to be heretical, not direct you to my website, because the easiest place is for you to go to LinkedIn and find Hugh Blane, B-L-A-N-E, and you'll see a lot about me there. And there's Claris Consulting also. I think the word for today, or the thing that I would leave you with, is to really double click on this idea. Are you drawn or are you driven? Drawn is wholehearted, all in, no excuses. I cannot wait to get up in the morning and go and do this. And when you don't feel that way, life becomes a long, slow slog through enemy territory on your belly with bullets flying over your head. And that's our raison d'etre at work, to help people see possibilities that they never saw possible before, and then to build a plan so that they can achieve them. So that's what I want for everybody. Wholehearted, feel drawn.
Love it. Hugh, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I encourage the audience to reach out, to get connected, find out more about what Hugh can do for you. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great week.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the podcast. We hope you stay healthy and safe, and please join us again soon.
Every minute your finance team spends wrestling with data is a minute lost. Insight Software's AI-powered insights instantly move you from complexity to clarity. Automated analysis, real-time reporting, strategic recommendations, all at your fingertips. Transform how your finance team works and watch your business grow. Stop wasting time. Start making smarter decisions. Learn more at insightsoftware.com/AI.